Welcome back to DreadTube. Make sure to sit back, relax, and let the terror begin. Listen, I'm not normally into supernatural stuff, but I was drinking with my buddies when we stumbled into a psychic offering readings for half off. Why the hell not? The old lady laid her cards carefully in front of her. Her eyes widened. There will be significant change in your life. It will impact you financially. I walked out, disappointed that I didn't find her as amusing as I wished. 3 days later, I was laid off. I had to get a temporary position at the local deli, much different than my well-paying job. My wife had to take on more hours just to keep up with the bills. 2 weeks later, I was walking around town. I didn't even realize I had made my way over to the psychic, but soon enough I was sitting across from her again as she shuffled. She looked at me. This time her eyes stretched even wider. There will be loss in your life. There will be great sadness. A week later, my mom died, and I took it hard. I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. Eventually, the deli had to let me go. My wife tried to be patient, but I could tell resentment brewed inside her. It was all becoming too coincidental. I headed back over to the psychic. Last time, I promised myself, you will make a mistake that will cost you a great deal. 24 hours later, I backed into our neighbor's Mercedes. My wife blew up at me. How could you be so careless? I caved, and the next day I was back at her table. My heart raced as the expression quickly changed on her face. You cannot trust those closest to you. Your well-being is at risk. That evening, I came home, surprised to see my wife sitting at the table with a glass of wine. We never drink on weekdays. I cocked my head. I know, but it's been tough lately. Here, take it. I grabbed the glass from her hand, but paused as it touched my lips. A voice echoed in my head. You cannot trust those closest to you. Your well-being is at risk. My eyes narrowed. Why don't you try it first? I said, handing the glass back to her. No, that's yours. I got it for you. Come on, try it. She was a little too eager. My heart sank. I grabbed the bottle from the table and swung, hitting my wife square on the cheek. I followed her as she crumbled onto the floor, striking her again and again, pulverizing her face until it was unrecognizable. I gathered myself and rushed back to the psychic. My wife tried to kill me. I had to end her life. Please tell me what happens next. She stared at me blankly, a look of shock on her face. Tell me. She looked sheepish. I don't know what to say. The readings, they are all made up. Story 2, Our New Home. But Dad, I want to go back to our old home. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The move had been hard for everyone, especially my son who missed his friends back home. He had always struggled with change. I forced a smile. I know, son, but you'll make new friends here. We'll settle right in. I promise. I miss Mommy too. Why didn't she come with us? He was a stereotypical mommy's boy, and I could tell the separation was hitting him hard. I didn't know how to tell him I had no say in the separation, so I just gave him a weak smile. I hoped these difficult questions would stop soon. You'll see her soon, I promise. I could tell he was getting tired. There was a lot of traveling, and the train was very overcrowded, to say the least. I picked up my little boy, eager for him to get some rest. I hoped our new home would be kind to him. As we approached our destination, my ever-inquisitive son pointed at the gate of our new home. Daddy, what does that say? I held him tight and read the words on the gate. I tried to hide the shakiness in my voice. Arbeit macht frei. Work will set you free. Story 3. Don't get too comfortable. Lisa walked along the sidewalk, the sound of her steps meshing with the music from her earbud. She walked alone, but she walked at ease. The October moon illuminated the familiar path ahead, and the breeze brought her sounds of distant life. Cars revving in the distance, dogs barking at the sound of each other, and some plainly overheard that she didn't care enough about to look for. The occasional passing car contributed muffled music to the night's hymn and occasionally a wave. Many in her position would complain to themselves about the intrusive sounds that unceasingly interrupted what would otherwise be a peaceful autumn night. But not Lisa. The sounds were nostalgic. They had always provided a background for late-night conversations on the porch, or the closing theme for countless nights gone by. Many in her position would also feel nervous walking alone at night, but not Lisa. The sounds of the small town around her also meant that there was never someone too far away, and ultimately, routine was her greatest comfort. Despite any shadows or potential hiding spots that may have made her walk quicker when she was younger, they had never actually produced anyone. Any fear she may have once held had long since withered away. But people can get far too comfortable in their routine, and others will take note. The revving of a distant engine distracted from the scuffling steps behind her, and barking dogs covered the sound of her struggle. A passing car came to a stop alongside of them and left with an empty street behind it.
Story 4: The Strangest Disappearance. In July, I took my family to Disneyland. My wife, my 3 children, my wife's brother, we went together. Everyone was happy, but there was one problem at the beginning. My son Jordan was very eager to go on the Splash Mountain ride. When we got to the park, Jordan practically demanded we go right to Splash Mountain, but we declined. Jordan had a bad attitude throughout the day. He practically had to be forced onto other rides, and after each one asked if now we could go to Splash Mountain. It was as if that was the only thing he came here for. Inevitably, we made it there, and Jordan finally acted happy. We went on the ride, and after we got off it, Jordan actually demanded we go back on. I told him no, we did not come to Disneyland just to go on one ride over and over again. Jordan threw a tantrum, saying he wanted to go back on. My wife's brother thankfully stepped in. He offered to indulge our son with the ride until he got it out of his system. We thanked him and went on to enjoy the rest of the park, figuring that after an hour or two, Jordan would get bored. 2 hours went by and neither of us heard anything. Concerned, I checked my phone to contact my brother-in-law, but to my surprise, I couldn't find his number. I checked again, but I could not find his name in my contacts. That was when I realized something that chilled me. For the life of me, I could not recall my brother-in-law's name. I asked my wife to check her phone for her brother, and this is when things got worse. She looked worried and said she had no brother, only a sister. She thought that the man we came here with was my brother, but I reminded her that I'm an only child. I then asked for his name, and she could not recall it either. Who the hell has my son? Story 5: Family Matters. I've met my boyfriend, Jack, at the post office I was working at. At first, we were just friends, but it grew into love within months. Sadly, his family never really accepted or liked me. They were nice at the beginning, but once our relationship got serious, that changed quickly. They were not directly rude to my face, rather cold and distant. I've heard them, mainly his mom and older sister, yell at Jack behind closed doors several times, telling him, "We are not a good match. He needs to be careful, and he should break up with me. Let me go." I felt really hurt by their behavior. I thought they were good people, and I grew to really like them in the early days. His mom is a loving, caring person who would do anything for her children. I loved to sit in the kitchen with her, helping with the dishes and just chat a laugh and listen to her stories. I grew up in an orphanage, and spending time with her made me feel warm and safe for the first time in my life. I've cried and doubted myself. There must be something wrong with me, for sure. Jack was there for me, assuring me that he will go against his family's wishes just to be with me. At the end, this made us even stronger. We've moved in together. I've quit my job and helped him tend to the farm and animals instead. We were living very simple and happy life. One beautiful day he proposed, and I've never felt so lucky. He only visits his family once a week to check on them. His mom is getting old and frail, and his father is basically bedbound after a long sickness. Jack is helping around the house, doing some chores they can't do themselves anymore. I've offered to come with him and help them as well, but Jack assured me that I should not, since they have treated me so poorly. I am still really sad I am not welcomed as part of the family. I would love to help care for them, especially now since his mom fell down the stairs and is injured, but they've made their choice. Jack brought home a basket of vegetables today, as his mom had a great harvest. He went to the city for some supplies, and I started to prepare soup for lunch. Tucked under the veggies is a handwritten note. "Dear child, please run as far and as fast as possible. The 12 crosses behind the barn don't belong to animals, although I'm sure he told you he dug them for his favorite livestock to keep them close and fresh in his memories. Please, save yourself." Thanks for joining us tonight, folks. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to stay spooky.